The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? Welcome along to the webinar. Have to say it is good to be back. I haven't hosted one of these in a while, so I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into this one and hopefully helping you guys along the way. And it is really nice to be doing it while it's still light. The last one I did, I'm pretty sure it was getting dark around this time. So with British summertime coming in, it's nice to still be doing this in the sunlight. So if I could just get a quick sound and screen check before I start then. Can you all hear me okay? And can you see my screen? You should be able to see a getting started webinar funnel in Convertri. If you could just type in the chat whether you can hear me and see my screen okay, that'd be great. Excellent. Okay, so it looks like we're good to go then. So before we jump into it, just to introduce myself to you a little bit more. My name is Dan and I work here at Convertri, and this is me here on our about page, just so you can put a face to my name. Now, you might have come across me before. I'm in the support desk or in the Facebook group a lot, just trying to help people with their problems with Convertri or with any issues they encounter, or just trying to get the best out of the platform. And that is hopefully what I can do for all of you today. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to first off show you a demonstration of how we can create a simple lead funnel in Convertri. So this will you'll end up with a page like this, which will then allow a prospect to come on to the page, sign up, opt in to the list and download the lead magnet, and then be taken to the thank you page where they can actually download the file. And that will then add them to your autoresponder sequence, so you've got them as a lead. Once we've done that demonstration, I'll take any questions about that part of the webinar specifically, and then we'll move on to some editor-focused tips and tricks that are going to help you save some time while you're using Convertri. And I'll speak a little bit about the mobile editor there and how to build pages that mobilize well. And then finally, I'm just going to show you one of the new features that we've released in the app over the last fortnight, and hopefully then answer any of your remaining questions that you've got. So without further ado then, let's get started, and I'll show you now my funnel screen here, and we can begin to start with the lead funnel. So what we're going to do first is we're going to click on new page here. We're in our funnel and we now want to create a page. So we'll click new page, and then you can see what you're going to be shown is all of these templates that we've got in the app. So if you wanted to build your page out with a little bit of help to start with, you can use one of these templates. But in this demonstration, we're going to build a page from scratch so I can show you the editor in full. So we'll click create page from scratch and we'll give it a name. So we'll just call it opt-in, and then we will jump in to the editor. Now, while that's just loading, if I could just get you guys in the chat to just give a comment of how comfortable you feel with Convertri at the moment. So with 1 being that you're a complete newbie and 10 being that you're an expert, how well versed do you feel using Convertri at the moment? Awesome, we've got a couple of 5s, a 1, a 2. So it's a nice mixture of levels of experience, which is great. And hopefully we can boost those numbers up. Got a couple more 3s coming in, another 1, another 3. Fantastic. Okay, yeah, so that's sort of the level we'd expect for this webinar, which is brilliant. So we're going to get started now creating the page. And the first thing we need to do is add our background image. So we're going to come to the elements tray on the left. This is where you add all your elements, and we're going to select image. This is going to bring up the media gallery. And here you'll see all the images that I've uploaded into my Convertri account so far. Now we've also got the option here to search Pixabay. Now what this is, I'll show you how this works. So we've got a Pixabay integration, and what that allows us to do is search on the website Pixabay, but through Convertri. So we can actually then use the stock images that they provide to people, but get them directly from the Convertri editor. Now, Pixabay is completely free. You don't have to pay any extra with your subscription. It all comes with it. And I'll show you how this works now. If someone could just give me like an object or an animal or something like that so I can search for it and show you guys how it works. So Larry said a city. So we'll search for a city. And as you can see, this is now bringing up all of these city images, and we can choose any of these and add them to our page. Now you'll notice that the maximum resolution for these images is 1920 by 1280. Now, if you wanted to add an image larger than that, you can do that by uploading it straight into your account. So that's probably going to be the best option because you're going to get higher resolution. And with Convertry's page speed, it's not going to slow the loading down at all. So the Pixabay integration is a really good feature, but just remember that resolution cap there. So if I go now to my home folder and choose my image that I want, so if I was uploading it, I'd obviously choose the upload button, but I've already got it here. So I'm going to select it, and you can see already the difference in resolution. So it's nearly 5 times higher quality. And because Convertry's pages load so fast, that's not going to actually slow the page down at all. So we'll make the most of that, and we'll use this image now and add that to our page. So once it's on the page, what we want to do is make it so it's across the whole of the screen. So we want to make it full width. And to do that, we can use this tool here, these 2 arrows, and click full width. That's going to snap it to the edges like so. And then we can just use the top and the bottom drag handles to resize it so that we can actually have more of the image on screen. So we move it up to the top, and then we'll just drag it down a little bit so it fills more of the page like so. Okay, so we've now got our background image, and I want to just add now a little header and footer panel. So like you see on the demo page here, this just sort of bookmarks the page nicely. It is more for a design purpose, but it also is important so we can have our privacy policy text at the bottom. So I'm using a panel from the elements tray, and I'm going to put it up the top of the page, and then I'm going to use the full width tool again. That snaps it to the edges, and then I'm going to resize it with these drag handle arrows here. Now, I don't really want this to be grey. I'd actually like it to look a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to change the background color. I've gone to element properties and then background, and I'm going to use our color picker tool, which actually allows me to view the color changes live as they're happening. And this is really useful for me because now I can compare colors directly in different shades without having to apply the changes, wait for them to update, etc. This is happening live. So it's really helpful from a design standpoint because I can see exactly what shade of color looks best. You can see the different colors here. So I'm going to choose like a beigey color, which is nice and subtle and doesn't sort of draw too much attention to itself. But like I said, it just bookmarks the page nicely. So we'll add one like so. And now I don't need to add another one from the elements tray. What I can do is clone this one directly by using the clone button. So I've got my element selected, just hit clone, and then I can move that down to the bottom of the page like so. And what that does is it now gives us an exact copy of the panel that we had before. So I can resize it, I can change it if I wanted to, but it just saves us the time having to pick the exact same color. So we've got our header and our footer on the page now, and the next thing we need to do is add a panel for our opt-in form. So again, we're going to be using the panel element, which is probably the most important element in the Convertery editor because you're going to be using it for all sorts of things, like I've just shown you, headers, footers, or building out forms, etc. So we'll resize it again. We can always make this larger at a later stage. So roughly now this is fine. And once we've done this, we just need to add our text, which is going to tell our prospect exactly what it is we're offering them. So I'll drag a text element on. We want to keep it within the panel like so. And then I'm going to add my headline, which in this case is 7 top tips for slimming without starving. And then I'm going to drag another text box on. And this time I'm going to add my main copy. And what this text is doing is it's actually promoting our lead magnet that we're going to be offering to our prospects. So when they land on the page, they can see what it is that we're offering them in exchange for their email address. So I'll just get the last bit of this typed out. And once we've got the main text and the headline, the last things we need to add in the text element front is a little prompt to say enter your details here. And then finally, a piece of text that basically just reassures the prospect that we're not going to use their details to spam them. So we're never going to spam you. Your details are safe with us. And this isn't like a legal requirement to have on the page, but it is a good idea just to reassure people that when they're giving you their email address, you're not going to do anything malicious with it. You're just using it purely for marketing purposes. It's not for anything other than that. So I'd always recommend having that on your opt-in pages or anywhere you're requesting information from people. Okay, so we've got this set up now, and what we want to do now is change the default text styles for the page. Now, what this will do is it will update every text element on the page to be exactly the same, and it will also apply that to any future text elements that we add. So to do this, we're going to go into the page menu, and then we're going to select the default text styles tab. And here we have the option to edit our font family, our font weight, the font size, line spacing, alignment, and the default scaling for mobile. So we're going to change this now to a font that I prefer, which is Lato. And if you watch closely in the background here, you'll notice the font change when I add this. So if I hit Lato, you'll see that that changes in the background on the editor. We'll keep the size the same. And we will keep the line, we'll up the line spacing slightly actually to 1.5 like so. Now you'll notice that this is all now changed, but we obviously want our heading to look slightly different. So what we're going to do is go back to our page and we're going to go back to default text styles, but this time we're going to edit the heading 1 style. Now I'm going to again change the font to something that stands out a bit better. We'll use Noto Sans and we want it to be bold. We'll bring the size down slightly. 36 is going to be quite large for this sized form. And we'll keep the rest like so. Now this time when I click done, you'll notice that the headline, or what we want to be our headline, hasn't updated. That's because Convertery doesn't know that it's our headline text at the moment. So to do this, we have to highlight it, and then we have to click more, and then change it to our heading 1 default text style. So when you add a text element to Convertery, it's automatically set to paragraph. So if you want to change it to match your heading styles, you just do what I just did, highlight it, click more, and select heading 1, and there you go, you can see that it's changed, and we'll just close that drop down like so. So now we've got this on our page like that. We can also make changes to the main text, so even though we've set up the default style, we can edit independent elements. So like this one here, we want this to be a little bit smaller because it is just prompting our users. It's not a main piece of text, so we can use the quick actions toolbar to change the size, and the same for our spam text. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. We've now got a bit more of a theme on the form. And the last thing we want to do adding to the form is our form elements. And this is going to be where our prospects enter their information. So we're back in the elements tray. This time we're using the form elements one, and we're going to drag first name, then we're going to drag email, and lastly, we're going to add a submit button like so, and we'll move that down. And what this means is that when someone now comes to the page, they have somewhere to enter their first name, their email address, and then the submit button will submit the form for them, and that will take them to the thank you page. Now, we haven't quite set that up yet so that it'll work, but that is what we're going to have at the end. So the first thing we want to do, now we've got these set up, you'll notice that the buttons themselves, or the elements themselves, haven't actually stuck to our default text styles. And that's because these elements don't have the same rules as text elements. So we need to edit these separately. So we'll go back to element properties, and this time we'll go to input properties. And this is going to be our placeholder text option, our color, and our font family. So we can change this to match the text. We'll add Lato to this one as well. And we'll keep this as first name, and then email will also change to Lato. The submit button, we are going to make sure it's set to sign up mode because we're wanting it to be a form submit button. We can change the label because even though it's submitting the form, we want them to think that clicking that button will be downloading the file. Now, instead it will take them to the thank you page, but that's where they'll be able to download it. But because the action that they're performing is eventually going to be a download, that's what we want this button to say. And then we'll change the font family to match our heading. So Noto Sans, and we'll up the size to about 22. And I'm going to make it bold as well, like so. That stands out a lot better now. Okay, so we've got everything we need on our form. We just want to tidy it up a little bit though, because it's looking a bit all over the place. Things aren't quite lining up, and that is not aesthetically pleasing for our prospects. So to do this, we can make use of Convertry's alignment tools. Now, these are all built in, so you don't have to fiddle around by trying to line up each individual pixel. What we can do instead is select the panel, and you'll notice that this actually selects all the elements within it as well. So if I move this around, it's coming with us, which is brilliant because we don't have to move each individual element or hold shift and click them all. We can just select the panel. Because they're contained within it, they're going to move around as well. So we can apply the alignment tools, which are these tools here. So we'll click the drop down, and what we can do now is we can justify them. We can center align them so that this actually makes all the elements in the panel go to the middle, like so. So they're nice and aligned. And now what we can do is we can make some small changes if we want to. And we can also add, you'll notice, you'll see here, there's a big gap here, but a smaller gap here. So we can select these three images, holding shift and clicking on all of them, and then using the distribute vertically, which is going to add the even space between them. So that's made it nice and neat, and we haven't actually had to do anything ourselves there. Now I'm noticing that this text is still a little bit to the left, so I'm going to just select it, like so. I'm going to highlight it, and that's going to allow me to actually change the alignment of the text as well. So if I click center, that will now snap into the middle of the element. So that looks a lot better. Okay, so finally on the form, I just want to make this background panel look a little bit more pleasing to the eye as well. Currently that block grey is quite harsh, so I'm going to go to element properties. I'm going to change the background fill, and I'm going to make it less transparent, or more transparent, I should say. So we want it to be a little bit see-through. So we're going to, look, you can drag it all the way down if you wanted to. Obviously, we can't read the text now. So I think about 60 is going to be quite a nice mark. So 0.6, you can type it in here if you want to. And then I'll hit select. And finally, I'm just going to add a border to the panel. So I've clicked borders, and then I've come to border radius. I'm going to click this toggle so that it's the same for each corner, and then I'm going to type in 20, like so. And again, if you want to have a little play around with it, you can use the arrows, and you'll see the changes live as they happen. And Larry's asking if I could show something again. What bit was it you wanted me to show again, Larry? And I'll just see if I can do that quickly before we move on. Okay, so I'm just going to show you guys aligning the form again, because that is quite a useful tool, and I know it can happen quite quickly on screen. So I'll show you that again now. So what I need to do is just mess the form up a little bit. So move some things around like so, put a big gap between these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the panel. Like I said, that contains everything within it. This tool here with the drop down arrow is our alignment tools. So I'm going to hit the arrow, and then I'm going to choose center align. And that moves all the elements to the middle of the panel, like so. And then now I'm going to click Shift on my keyboard and click these three elements here. Go back to my alignment tools, and this time click Distribute Vertically. And that's going to put an even amount of space in between these three elements, like so. Okay, so I hope that was a lot clearer for you. Sorry if I went a bit quick there. Now, the last thing we need to do on the desktop version of our page, we've got everything set up now apart from the form itself. We're not connected to an autoresponder yet, but we need to create our thank you page first, so we'll do that in a moment. The last thing, though, we need to do is add our privacy policy text. So I'm going to drag my text element on. I'm going to type in privacy policy, and you'll see it's taking on our default styles that we set up. I'm then going to highlight it and go to this little chain icon, which is our hyperlink icon. I'm going to click that, and then here I can type in my link to my privacy policy. So Convertry's one, I believe, is privacy policy. It may just be privacy, but for the example's sake, it doesn't really matter. And then what I'm going to do is click open in a new tab. Now, this is really important because if you have any leaky links on your page, like a privacy policy where prospects can sort of get away from your sales page, it's always important to have this toggle switched on, because that means the sales page or the opt-in page is going to remain open in their browser. So they'll always come back to it. Whereas if they don't have that, if you don't have this setting on, you might lose them. They might just go to the privacy policy and then close the tab and forget about your sales page. And then you've lost the prospect. So this is a good feature within Convertri, and one I definitely recommend using for those sort of links. So we'll click save like that, and that's going to now underline it, which means it's a clickable link. So I'm just going to move this now to the center of the page. So again, alignment tools, align to page center. And I want this text in the middle of the text box as well. So I'll highlight it and click center. Okay, so the desktop page is looking pretty good. I'm really happy with that. I need to now just check the mobile version is looking good as well. So I'll go to mobile in the top right, and this is going to be Convertry's automatic version of my page for mobile. So it's created this itself with the algorithm that we have set up. We haven't had to do any work, which is obviously a bonus. And my page is actually looking really well. And that's because I've built it so that it mobilizes well, which is what I'm going to show you guys a little bit later. But I can make changes to the page if I want to. So if I want to, say, swap around the main text with the copy, I can move the heading like so, and I can move the main text up. And this doesn't affect my desktop page. So you'll notice it's exactly the same on desktop. If we go to mobile, it is a little bit different. So that's one way you can make changes. You can move things around, and you can also resize any text you want to by highlighting it like so, and then by changing the font size scaling up here. So if we want to change it back to 120 like so, we can change it, and that will add the change again only to mobile. If we make any changes that we don't like, we can click remobilize, and this will return us to the original mobile conversion like so. So I'm happy with the page now. I'm just going to go back to the desktop and show you guys one thing again. So Larry's asking if we can go back to the opacity of the form. So we'll select it, element properties, and we're in background, and the opacity is going to come from this right hand bar here. So if you drag it up and down, it's going to change the opacity like so. You can see different levels of transparency. Okay, no problem, Larry. So our page now is ready, so I'm going to save it. And I'm going to publish it. Well, actually, I'm not going to publish it just yet because we haven't got the form set up, so I don't want it to be live without the form being actually submittable. So I'll hold off on that for now. And what we'll do is we'll go back to our funnel, and we'll now get to making our thank you page. So to do this, we're actually going to clone our opt-in page because we want it to look pretty much exactly the same, gives it a consistent house style through the funnel, and that way people know they're in the right place. So to clone the page, we're going to click on the three-dot menu, and then we'll click More, and then we're going to click Clone, and we'll rename it. This time we'll call it a thank you page. And what this will do is produce an exact replica of the page we've just made. Now, this is really useful because it's essentially like we're using our own template. If we go into the editor, you'll see that it is an exact copy of the page, but we can still make changes to it. So because this is our thank you page now, we don't need any of this text here, which sort of says what the lead magnet is, because we've already sold them on that. They've already signed up. So we can delete that. We can delete our enter your details here, and we can delete first name and email. Now we might want to add a text element that sort of just explains what they're here for. So we can say, click the button below to download your free guide to slimming without starving. Just so they know that if they click the button here, they'll be able to get the lead magnet. And we can also delete the spam text. Sophie's asking how to go back to the funnel menu, and to do that you just click on the cross in the top right hand corner here, That says back to funnel. Obviously make sure you've saved your pages before you do that, otherwise your changes won't be saved. So I'm going to resize the form now, like so, and I'm going to just bring it into the center. And I'm now just going to add my lead magnet to my form. So at the moment we have got this button set up as a sign up button because it's originally to set up our form. But now we're on the thank you page, what we need to do is make it a download button. So we're going to click the element, go to button settings and change the mode to download. Now what this does is it gives us the option to add a file to the button that once clicked will then download. So if we select the file icon, that's going to bring us into a similar modal to the image gallery. And here is the file that I've uploaded previously, but I can obviously upload a new one with the button. And it's important to note that individual files are limited to 40 megabytes in size. So if you've got anything bigger than that, what you'll need to do is get it hosted somewhere like Amazon S3, and then you'll need to set the link, the mode to link, and then actually add the link of your S3 file in that box. But we've obviously got this one here, which is a lot smaller. So we can select it and just add it to the button. And you'll see here that it's now been set up so that if someone clicks the button, they will be able to download that file. So I'm just going to do one last thing, and that is change the color of the background of this button, just so it's slightly different to our opt-in page. Some small differences can't hurt. Obviously, we've got the main house style here. Like I said, that's important, I think, because people then are going to know they're on the same, on the right page, they're in the same funnel, and you're not going to get anyone worried that they've ended up in the wrong place. So we can now publish this page. I can check the mobile version, and as you can see here, it's looking pretty good. Now, the one thing I might want to do is just stretch the background image out a little bit, because that's going to mean that it fills the mobile screen, which means then I want to move down this panel like so. But as I said, you can make any of these changes to the mobile version as you like. This is just the automatic version that Convertri created for us. So we'll go back to desktop and we'll publish our page. And here we're going to give it a page path. So I'll just put thank you. And this is basically the extra bit at the end of the URL. So I'll hit publish, and this page is now live on the internet. Well, it's just publishing at the moment, and now it's live. So you can see the green tick appears up here, and I can view the page. But we aren't actually finished just yet. We still need to set up our form and link the two pages together. So we're going to exit this page and go back to the funnel. And Antonio's asked if there will be a replay of the webinar. There will certainly be a replay. We try and get those posted as soon as possible. So hopefully by Monday of next week, it'll be up in the knowledge base and you'll be able to watch it back. If you wanted to recreate the funnel yourself, if you're not doing that at the moment, then obviously you've got to do that in your own time. You've got that option. So there'll definitely be a replay. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I go back into my opt-in page is use the arrow here from the opt-in page. I'm going to click and drag. I'm going to set it so that it hits the thank you page like so. And now these pages are connected. Now, at the moment, this doesn't actually mean anything in the sense that if I publish the page as it is, it won't automatically take me to the thank you page when I click the button. But what this does is it will throw up the thank you page URL as a suggestion for the link when I set it up in the forms. So if we go back into our page now, what we're going to do is the last bit, which is set up our form, and that will complete the funnel and link the pages together. So we're going to go into the forms menu, and then we're going to choose our autoresponder. You can see all the different autoresponders that we're integrated with here. Obviously, whichever one you use is completely up to you, but I'm going to be using MailChimp. And I'm then going to search for my target, which is the list that I've set up in MailChimp. And here is going to show me my fields. So I've got first name because that's on the page. And I've also got email, which as MailChimp likes to highlight is a fixed field for them. So you have to have an email field on the page to use MailChimp. Now you'll notice these types here, and these are important because they need to match the type in the form setup and the type on the element itself, because that is how the information gets passed through to the autoresponder. So if they don't match, then Convertri doesn't know which information to pass into which form field in the autoresponder. So your information will get lost. So it's important to make those the exact same one. So I've set that up now, and I can click next. And I'm now going to be asked to set my thank you page, which, as you can see, it's automatically suggested the thank you page that I've built. And that's because I use that arrow feature. So you can see here, it's got a suggestions drop down. If I had more pages in my funnel, which were linked to the opt-in page, so if I had more arrows coming off the page, these would all be listed as well. But this is the only one I've got, so that's the only one it's suggesting. So I'll click done. And now all I need to do is click my first name element, go to form field settings, and just double check that it is set to first name, and the same with email. And we are good to go. I can publish my page now, and that would give us a live lead funnel. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to call this one opt-in, hit publish. And once it's published, I can view my page. Like so, you can see how quickly the page loaded there, even with this huge resolution image, which I must say is looking stunning. The quality hasn't been lost at all. And we've got a working page here, which if I type my name in and my email address, hit download now, it's going to take me to my thank you page, where, as you can see, I would then be able to download the lead magnet. So that is the first part of the webinar done, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'd be happy to take any questions that you've got on that demonstration. Okay, so we've got a question from James about the editor itself, and it's a really good question actually, because it's something that comes up quite a lot. He's just asking what these guidelines here are, these blue lines. Now, all they are is basically just exactly that. They're guidelines, so they don't have any effect on the published page. As you can see here, they don't appear on the published version. What they are is they're sort of like a safe zone, so anything within these lines will definitely show up on any sized monitor. Now, if we go back to my live version, if I view the page, you'll see that quite a lot of the page past these lines also gets shown, and that's because my monitor size is just that bit bigger. But these guidelines were set quite a while ago when Convertri first started, so over 4 years ago now. So they are maybe a little bit outdated. So if you do want to have things outside of them, that's fine. Or if you want to change them so that you can actually have your own guidelines for your own peace of mind, you can click display and change the guideline width by using these arrows like so. So if you wanted to change it to 1280, for example, you can use the arrows, or you can type it in like so. And if you then decide, actually, I'll go back to defaults, you can restore them like so. So thanks for that question, James, and I hope that's helped. Antonio's asking, can we create whole websites in Convertri or just for funnels? So yeah, you can create whole websites in Convertri. So if you wanted to have a website with loads of different pages, what you could do is use our menu element here. So let's say we wanted one on this page, you can drag it onto your page, and then you can have your different items. So I could have home, I could have about, could have contact, and then what I could do is publish the versions of these pages that I've created and put the link for them in here. And that means that when someone comes to this page and clicks on the contact bit, they'll be taken to the contact page. So by using the menu element, you can essentially create a whole website in Convertri. Now, it isn't specifically designed for, huge websites. So if it was like more than, say, like 15 pages, probably wouldn't be able to cope with that, or it wouldn't really be built for that. But, small scale websites with sort of like 5 to sort of 15 pages going to be absolutely fine with managing. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to the editor hacks section, and this is basically going to be me showing you my favorite shortcuts in the editor, and I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about how to build a page that mobilizes well. Now, we'll still have time for some more questions at the end, so if you've got any more, if you think of any along the way, don't be afraid to ask those a little bit later on. So I'm going to go into this page now in the editor. This is actually one of our templates, but it's built in a way that will mobilize badly for the purpose of this webinar, so we can show you how to make it better. So the first thing though that I'm going to show you is how to add element guidelines or element outlines on your pages. And that is by clicking display and then turning this toggle on. And now you can see these pink outlines around each element. Now what this does is it basically shows you where each element is on the page and exactly where its boundaries start and finish. And the reason this is useful is because it gives you an idea of where to click to select that element, especially if you've got loads of elements on the page like here. These text boxes are quite large. You might not know if you're clicking sort of up here that it's not going to select it, but instead select the background panel. So by having these on, you can see exactly where to click. And also it's just helpful for resizing them so that they fit inside your panels easily. Now I'm going to show you how to remove an entire section of the page. So let's just say, for example, in this case, I didn't want the menu anymore on this page. Instead of deleting each element individually, what I can do is select the black backing panel like so, and then simply either hit delete on my keyboard or go to the trash can icon here, delete selected, click it, and that is going to get rid of the whole section like so. So you can see I didn't have to do any faff in there. I just deleted it all in one go, nice and straightforward. Now what that does though is it leaves us with this big chunk of white space on the page. Now you might be thinking, oh, I'm going to have to move all these elements around just to fit them back to the next element up here and get rid of this gaping hole in my website. But what you can actually do instead is select the element below the white space, and then next to the trash can we have this remove white space above tool. So what we can do is click that, and that will snap the element up to the nearest one above, essentially bridging that gap and removing the space entirely. So that's really useful because, like I said, you don't have to move every element on the page. It's just done it all for you. Everything's been brought up with it, and now the white space has gone. But as well as removing white space, it is also quite likely that you might want to add some to your page to add a new section. So how do you go about doing that without moving each element down the page individually? Well, to do that, all you have to do is select the panel that is sort of the one below the area where you want the white space to appear. So in this case, we want it to be above this white panel. So we'll select it, hold Shift on our keyboard, and then drag down like so. And as you can see, all the elements are moving with it, and also the elements below this panel are being brought down as well. And that creates a nice area for us to add new content to our page, which is obviously really useful because, especially if you're building if you're using templates to build pages, you might like the template, but you might want to add something else of your own, which is perfectly normal. And therefore it's really important to know about that Shift drag shortcut. Okay, the next shortcut I'm going to show you is similar to our clone tool, but it's a keyboard shortcut for cloning, and that is the Alt drag tool. So to do this, it's really simple. You just select the element you want to copy, hold Alt on your keyboard and drag it like so, and that will create an exact duplicate of that element. So if you're working on something at the bottom of the page and you don't want to move your mouse all the way up to clone it, you can just use the keyboard shortcut and it will do the exact same thing for you. Okay, so the next thing is some more alignment tools. So I showed you some earlier when I was building the form out, and they are really useful in Convertri because I find when I'm building my pages, I don't want to waste time sort of doing things by eye. If I've got something that can make it nice and neat for me, then I'm going to use that. You know, I'm not going to waste my time sort of moving things pixel by pixel with my keyboard arrows like this. I can get Convertri to do that for me with exactly the same result. So I want to add a panel to contain all these elements so that I can align them all together. So you can see I've added the panel, but at the moment they're in front of the element. So I'm going to use this ordering tools here. I'm going to send it to back, and then I'm going to bring it forward, which will put it behind these elements. Now if I move it around, they're all going to be contained as well. So this means I can now use my alignment tools when I select the panel, and it will have the same effect on all these elements within it. So if I go back to the alignment tools, click on the arrow, And this time I'm going to click middle align because that puts them in the middle, like so. And then I'm going to click justify horizontally, which will put exact difference between each element in the panel, like so. So they've got exactly the same space between each one, and that looks a lot neater. And if I was to change the background color on this panel now, so that it was black, like so, that would look a lot better and a lot neater. Okay, the last thing I'm going to show you in this section, guys, is probably the most important thing you'll learn today in the webinar, and that is all to do with building out pages that mobilize well. And what I'm talking about here is building a page out that basically is going to, the algorithm is going to create an exact copy of for you. So that means you won't have to do any manual changes to the page, and it's still going to be perfectly okay to publish. It's not going to look rubbish. It's going to be easy to read. It's going to have all your elements where you want them. And it's really important because mobile traffic is obviously such a key factor these days in like e-commerce or any real online businesses. You know, they have a lot of commerce going through mobiles. So it's important to have your mobile pages perfect. Now, the way you're going to do this is by using panels. So if I show you on this page in particular, the mobile conversion that Convertri has generated, you'll see how it could be a little bit better. So if I click mobile, you'll notice here that bread, pastry and coffee have all been put one after the other, which means that the texts that sort of relate to these headlines aren't actually matching up to the headlines. They're also coming one after the other. Now, obviously, we could move this around ourselves, but if we've got quite a long page and it's doing this for the whole page, that is going to take some time. So what we can do instead is build the page out from scratch so that it mobilizes better. And to do this, we're going to use panels. Now, I'll first explain how the algorithm works in the editor. So Convertri's mobile algorithm basically reads the page like a book. So it comes along and it reads each element at the top, like so, and then left to right. So it's reading this panel here, then it's reading the logo, then it's reading this "We are open," then the image, and then it's reading bread, pastry, and coffee because they're left to right on the same row. And then it's going to hit these three texts. And that's the order that it's actually put them in on the page, as you can see. So what we can do is we can trick the algorithm into thinking that these two elements are the same element. And we can do that by using a panel. So if we add it to our page like so, and then if we resize it, again, use the tools to send it backwards and then bring it forwards once. And then if we do the exact same thing with the other two, like so, we can either send it all the way to the back or just send it backwards twice. It's going to have the same effect. And this is now containing these two bits of text within this panel. So when the algorithm reads the page, it's going to hit the whole panel and display everything within it as one. So if we now go back to our mobile version, what you'll see is these are now grouped together and the page reads much better. So it's actually displayed the text about bread with the headline. So the user knows that this is relating to the bread headline. So basically the lesson here, guys, is to use panels when you're building your pages to contain the elements that you want displayed together. So it might be a form or it might be a long piece of text with headlines, etc. But if you use panels to contain the individual bits that relate to each other, then the mobile version will turn out a lot better. And in short, it will save you a lot of time and a lot of hassle when you're building the mobile page or when you're making edits. You won't have to make wholesale changes because the algorithm has already done that for you. Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad to see that's had a good impact, Larry. I know panels are so key to Convertri and a lot of people sort of overlook them. So it's really important to know that they are so important for building pages out. Okay, so that is the editor section done. We've shown you some tips and tricks. The last thing I'm going to show you before we do a quick Q&A is actually the new features that we've added into Convertri this week, and that is our product variants feature. So I'll show you how this works. If we go to the cart section of Convertri, we can see here, these are my products. So you can create a product by clicking this button here, or you can edit a product by clicking this one on an existing product. Now, the feature we've added is product variants, and what that basically means is you can now sell different variants of your product. So let's say we had one here which was, well, let's use this custom piano as an example. Let's say we were selling a custom piano which came in different colors. Now, before this update, the way that Convertery products worked, you'd have to create 5 different products and have them all on different pages, all for different colors. What the product variants allows you to do is actually have different colors or different variants. In this case, it'll be colors for that product that your user can then choose to purchase on the page. So if we click edit, and then on the left-hand side, we go to variants. We can then add a variant category. So in this case, it'll be color. And then we can add new variants to the category. So we could add blue. We could add green. We could add orange. And we can add red for the last one. And as you can see, you can have up to 15 variants. Now, we also have the option here to reorder them. So let's say you wanted them to appear with red at the top. You could use these arrows like so to move them around. Let's say we want blue to be third and orange. We'll move orange up slightly. So as you can see, this is now the order that they will appear on the page. Now, to set this up, what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to go to your page. So let's just go into our opt-in page. And let's say we were selling a product on this page instead. So we're going to change the mode to checkout, open checkout, which will open our checkout once we add our product. We're going to add our product like so, custom piano, save and close. But then what we also need to add is a variant drop down. So to do that, we're going to add from form elements, we're going to use the drop down element like so, and then we're going to choose the option here. Sorry, I'm not sure why that's actually not brought that over. It should give us an option for color because we've set that up, but for some reason it's not actually doing it. Let's try and make sure we set that up correctly in the cart. Okay, so it seems like I didn't click save on there for some reason. So if we add color like so, and then we add blue, and we'll just add 2 to make it nice and short for you, and then we'll click save. And now if we go back to our campaigns and go back into our page, we'll see on the drop down section that this option becomes available. Product variants, variant category to color, and then we can set the option name to select your color. So when we now publish the page, if we delete these elements here, because we don't need these for a checkout, if we publish our page like so, so this is going to get rid of the form and everything, guys. So if you're looking to test out the opt-in form, it won't work now because I've just republished it. Just a heads up. So this is the live version now, but this is just to demo the variant. So you can see here now, they'll need to select either blue or green. Once they've done that, they'll click the checkout button, which we changed to open checkout. And this now adds our custom piano, and you can see the variant here is listed to be blue. So that's how the product variants feature works. It's a great new feature that if you're selling products, I'm sure you've been hoping that it would come out for a long time, because we know it's important to offer different variants of different items, especially if it's a physical product, because things do come in different colors and different sizes. So that's really useful now for all of you guys selling with Convertri. So that's going to complete my presentation today, and I'll now see if any of you guys have got any questions. I know a few have been coming through while I was doing that, so I'll answer those first, and then we can take any other questions that you might have as well. Okay, so Sophie's asking where the library of pages can be found. So Sophie, you can find that on the new page button. You click new page, you'll see here that all of our page templates actually get brought up like so. We have loads and loads of templates, hundreds of templates, all for different styles. We've got checkouts, we've got whole funnels, and then we've got single pages as well. And these are all our pro templates. So if you're a pro member, you'll have access to all of these as well. And we have some really cool niches here. So loads of different ones. One I'm sure will suit your needs. And to use one, you literally just click select and then give it a name. So template like so, and then click OK. And that is going to add that to your funnel. And Felicity's asking if we can send the tutorial on email or to the place where you can access it. So as I said, there will be a replay. What I'll do is I'll drop the link in the chat now where you'll find all our replays. So this is our knowledge base here, help.convertery.com. And the webinar replays can be found under Getting Started Webinars, and then they're all listed here. So if I just paste this link into the chat, all of you guys should be able to go to that link and see any of the replays that you want to watch. No worries, Felicity. And Larry's asking how to set the end of the page. So he's saying that when he puts the panel at the bottom of the page, it still keeps scrolling past that panel. Now, it may be that there is an element below that panel, Larry. So Convertery with a live page, it will only show you up to the last element on the page. So if there was no elements below the panel, it shouldn't actually scroll. So let me show you what I mean. So if we go back to our opt-in page, we're using this page now as our sort of dummy page. So it's gone from being a nice opt-in page to our messy dummy page. So if we view the page, you'll see it won't scroll any further than that bottom panel. Now, if I go back to the editor, and if I put a panel down here and move it all the way down, and let's say I change it to be white, you're not going to notice it's there on the page. It doesn't look like there's an element there. So if you turn on element guidelines or element outlines, that will show you the elements. If you've got any sort of wandering elements, you'll be able to see them by turning them on. But if we now publish the page again, you'll see that even though without these pink lines, I wouldn't know it was there. If I view the page, it's actually, I don't think it's published yet. You can see, if we reload it, it's now going to scroll past what I thought was the bottom panel because there is still an element here. So it's worth checking if you've got any panels or elements that are below that you might not have noticed are there. So I'd make sure to turn on your element outlines in the display tab. If it's still persisting, that issue, you can email us at support@convertery.com and we'll be happy to take a look in more detail. I'll type that in the chat as well. This is our help desk where we have someone working pretty much round the clock to answer any of your queries. Yeah, so Larry's also asking about having a header and footer that you can put on every page and you don't have to recreate each time you add a new page. Now, that is a great question, Larry, because it will allow me to show you guys how to use our shared header and footer feature. So you can see this is my funnel, what we've been working in today. And obviously on my opt-in and my thank you page, I added the sort of header and footer panel, but you'll notice that doesn't appear on these two pages, even though they're in the same funnel. But that's because I didn't set it to be my funnel header and footer. So if I go to header and footer on the left, I have these editors here, which actually give me the option to create a master footer and a master header. And you'll see I've already actually made one for this funnel before. So you can see I've got sort of a menu. It's not linked to anything yet, but if I wanted to add links, I could. So I'll save that. So let's say I've just created that now. I go back to my page. And if I go to any of the pages here, we'll use this template as the example. To set this on my page, I'll go to the page menu, and then I have this headers and footers tab, and I can turn on the header like so. I can make it sticky or not. So if I don't want it to be sticky, I can turn that off. I can then click done, and you'll see that this header that I made in my master header has appeared on the page. So that's where you create them, and this is how to add them to your pages. So I hope that's answered your query there, Larry. I'm sure that'll be helpful for a lot of you as well, especially if you are building websites with Convertri. having like a menu in that sort of shared header is going to be really useful because you don't have to create it on every page. So once you've published all your pages in the funnel, so you've got the URLs, you can then build your master header and put it on there with the live links so that they all link together. And you can obviously add those for each of your pages. This process is the same. Excellent. I'm glad we fixed that scrolling problem, and I'm grateful to hear that you like the header feature as well. Larry, you're quite welcome. So is there any other questions that any of you have got? Anything about Convertery you wanted to know at all? It doesn't have to be about the editor. It could be about, the car or anything like that. Now would be a great time to ask them. Yeah, Convertery does integrate with Stripe. That is one of our payment processor integrations. So if I go to account and show you our integrations tab here, these are all the third-party products that we integrate with. So you can see payment processors, we've got Stripe, and we've also got PayPal. These are our autoresponders. You've got general ones up here, and then you've got webinars as well. And this is everything you can connect your Convertery account to. So when you sell products on Convertery, you'll need to connect one of these PayPal, either PayPal or Stripe, into Convertery so that your payments can be processed. If you do PayPal, then the PayPal button will appear, but you'll need Stripe as well to have that option of either PayPal or Stripe. So this is the one we primarily use. Okay, so Craig's asking if I can show you how to use our split test feature. I think that's a great idea, Craig, because it is one of the more important features in Convertery, and it's something that we've updated recently as well. So if I go back to my Getting Started webinar funnel, and let's say we wanted to split test our thank you page. To start that, I would click the three dot menu, and then I would click Start a Split Test, and that would then bring this option up, Are you sure? I could then click OK. It will take me then to my split test menu, and you can see here the status is not live, and that's because I haven't selected what my variant B will be. Now, in the past, our split test feature worked by just cloning variant A and then allowing you to edit it. But we've now realized that people sometimes don't want an exact duplicate of the variant A as their variant B. They might want to try it against a completely different page, whether that be a template page or another page they've designed. So if I click clone variant A, it will literally make an exact copy of it, and I can make small changes. If I want to choose another page in my funnel, I can click choose new page. I'll hit select, and then I can choose from the drop down. All the other pages in my funnel will appear. As you can see, it's highlighting the current variant, and I can then choose which one I want to test it against. So we'll choose template because it's the most different from this page. And now you can see it brings up the variant B so I can edit it. So if I want to make edits, I just click on the edit variant option. And then here we go. This is going to allow me to edit the page. Once I publish it like so, this will start the split test. So if I click continue, it will publish both variants and the split test will begin. I can choose the link I want to do. And once it's published, I'll go back into the split test menu and show you some of the other things that you can do with split tests now. So if we go back to the funnel, we're in the split test menu. As you can see here, we've got our conversion details. The status is now in progress. You can see I can declare either page as a winner. That will end the split test. I can choose what links I want to count to conversions. I haven't got any links on my variant B, so I haven't got that option. And I can also choose the traffic split. So if I wanted 70% to go to variant A, I can put it like so. I would need to republish my pages, you can see here, for that change to take effect. Or I could have it the other way. It's completely up to you. So the results really, Damien, they're based on, it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for one that gets more views, obviously you've got the visitors option here. Or if you're looking for one that gets more conversions, it will work out the conversion rate for you as well. Obviously, if you are testing conversions against one another, I'd recommend having exactly the same links on the page so that it's a fair test. But again, that's really up to you, depends what you're testing. If you're testing what page generates more traffic because you're testing images, then it might be that you want to look at the visitors data to see which one is doing better. And once you've declared the winner, if we click and declare winner A, variant A is the winner, it will stop the split test and it will discard variant B. But let's say then we wanted to keep variant B just to save it because we wanted to maybe use it again in another test. Well, to do that, we'd click the three dot menu and we'd click clone, and then we'd give it a page name, so variant B clone. And what this would do is it will then bring us back into our funnel and it's made a clone of that variant. Now, we're not in the split test menu anymore, but we can either go back into it like so, or we can use the left-hand tab and then go into details. Now, this tab will show all your split tests for this funnel, whether they are finished or whether they're in progress, and it will give you a status indicator here. So as you can see, we have done a lot of upgrades to our split test feature. I'm not sure if many of you are familiar with it before, but pretty much all of this is new. The interface is new. The ability to clone losing variants is new. And also the ability to select a completely new page as variant B is also a new feature. So I'm glad that I've got to show you that. That was a good question, Craig. Thank you very much. Okay, so I can see we've sort of answered most of the questions in the chat there. I can see the last one here from Felicity. How can I integrate Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics into Convertri? I can't really show you the whole setup because we haven't got enough time, I'm afraid. But once you've got the code itself, so the script that you want to use with your GTM or Google Analytics, you can add them into the script section of your account like so. You can see here, I've got my Google Analytics script, and that will then apply this to all of your pages like so. So if you go to edit, you can see you enter the code here, you can give it a description and a name like so. Now, before we go and end the meeting, guys, I'd just like to tell you about our knowledge base. I mentioned it earlier, help.convertery.com, where the replays are, but also for any other Convertery questions you've got, you can come here, give it a search in the knowledge base. You know, if we search Google Analytics, you can see how to add it. So it does have a whole host of knowledge in here. If you have any questions after the meeting or later this evening, you think of something, you can come to the knowledge base or you can email us at support@convertery.com. I've also put that link in the chat as well, and we're always happy to help out with any queries, whether they be more general things or specific to your page itself. Okay, so I hope you've all enjoyed the webinar today, guys. I can see some of you saying thank you in there and that you've learned a lot, which is great to see. And we're always looking to help people out get started with Convertri. So you're all very welcome. And I hope to see you around, whether it be on the support desk or in the Facebook group very soon. And I wish you all the best of luck using Convertri in the future. Thanks for coming, everyone, and I'll see you next time.